He said it with a smirk that could curdle blood. I don't pay you to think. That was the moment. The exact second my neurons stopped firing for that company. Not when he walked in reeking of too much cologne and inherited ego. Not when he mispronounced algorithm 3 different ways in the same sentence. No. It was right then, right after I had calmly, professionally explained how the model was showing a volatility curve spike due to synthetic leverage signals. He cut me off like a bad sitcom character. Like I was a damn temper-filling toner. I'd been there 11 years, 11. I designed the algorithm they now treated like some divine pet, this magical, autonomous trading oracle that whispered numbers from the heavens. But it wasn't magic. It was sweat, insomnia, and roughly 200,000 lines of code only one person on Earth fully understood. Me. And now, this walking Lacoste advertisement, fresh out of business school and full of dad's money and mommy's affirmations, thought he could reduce me to a clerical error with one sentence. The room fell silent. I felt every eyeball pivot not toward him but toward me. Waiting. What would she say? Would she cry, scream, throw a soy latte? Nope. I just closed my laptop, quietly, like I was shutting a coffin. And folks, if you're still here reading this, do me a quick solid. Smash that subscribe button like it just told you not to think. I'm clawing my way to my first 10,000 subs, and every single one counts like a well-timed short position during an earnings miss. Appreciate you. Anyway, back to the circus. His name was Carter. Of course it was. Carter DeWitt III, if you want to get biblical about it. His dad founded the firm in '87 during the cocaine boom and built it into a Shark Tank with better suits. We weren't Goldman, but we were close enough to smell their breath. Carter had been shadowing upper management for 3 weeks before they announced the strategic legacy transition. That's rich people code for Daddy gave the idiot the castle keys and told the knights to play nice. He strutted into that Monday morning all-hands meeting in suede loafers with no socks, like he was about to DJ a Hamptons wedding. Tossed out some buzzwords, synergy, digital velocity, investor captivation like handfuls of stale popcorn, then pointed at my slide deck mid-presentation like it had personally offended him. You're overcomplicating things, he said. This algorithm, whatever it works. So stop trying to tweak it. I don't pay you to think. My breath caught in my throat like a rusty nail. It wasn't just the insult. It was how casually he delivered it, like a reflex. Like this was just another Tuesday in the kingdom of entitlement. I looked at him, really looked. He was 27 maybe, hair like a Hallmark movie extra, teeth too white, and behind the bravado I saw it nothing. Just a hollow boy playing with sharp tools. I nodded, not to agree, not to surrender, but to mark it, like a sniper spotting wind direction before the shot. By 2 p.m., my resignation was typed, printed, and folded inside an envelope with my ID badge. No drama, no speech, just the quiet click of a door closing. And Carter, he didn't even look up, just fist bumped another VP and laughed. Guess she couldn't handle the heat. Right, heat. Let's see how he handles the fire. I didn't even bother using company letterhead. Just 2 sentences on plain white paper. Effective immediately, I resign from my position as senior data strategist. My ID badge and laptop are enclosed. No thank you for the opportunity. No best of luck in your future endeavors. I wasn't polishing a tombstone. I was walking away from a train I knew was already on fire. HR was so checked out they didn't even ask for an exit interview. The woman behind the plexiglass barrier glanced at the envelope like I'd just handed her a grocery receipt. Stamped something, clicked save on her screen and said, okay, thanks. That was it. 11 years, 7 system overhauls, 5 product launches, and the algorithm that became the firm's golden goose, all condensed to an Excel row and a box of unused sick days. When I left the office, the air felt different, lighter, like the second after you let go of a grudge and your stomach untwists. Back upstairs, Carter was reportedly making jokes. Guess she realized she was out of her depth. He told the team, smirking like he'd just flushed a spider down the drain. Out of my depth. The only depth he understands is the shallow end of his trust fund. But I didn't retaliate. I didn't torch the servers or overwrite the trading model. That's not how I play. Instead, I went home, poured a neat bourbon, and opened my encrypted cloud archive. There it was, failover manual v3 final docx. A harmless-sounding file, benign to the untrained eye. But inside, my safeguards, hand-tuned thresholds, adaptive corrections that made the algorithm look more stable than it actually was. Not fraud, not even deception. Just my invisible hand on the wheel, gently nudging the beast when it drifted off course. The firm thought it was self-regulating, autonomous. Plug-and-play genius, Carter had called it in one of his deck pitches. But it wasn't, it was me. I was the brakes, the seatbelt, the hands pulling it back from the edge when the data got noisy. And now I hit delete. I watched the file vanish from the backup like a ghost exiting a photograph. No trace, no redundancy, no warning lights. The algorithm still worked, technically. But like a car coasting with no brakes, sure it rolls until it doesn't. I shut the laptop and stared at the ceiling for a long while. I wasn't angry anymore. That would have been too easy. No, this was deeper, something colder. A silent contract I'd made with the universe. I will not scream. I will not beg. I will let gravity do its thing. Let Carter brag about gains and dashboards. Let HR file my exit like I never mattered. Let them all pretend the machine didn't need me. time would correct the record, and I wouldn't have to lift a single finger. They put the algorithm on a pedestal like it was some divine relic, the oracle of 8th Avenue. Glossy PDFs went out to investors with words like AI-powered precision and autonomous market foresight. Carter even gave it a name. Vantage, not a model, not a system, a brand with a logo. Swear to God, they slapped it on mugs and tote bags. In the investor webinar, he called it a breakthrough in predictive market intelligence that allows us to outmaneuver volatility in real time. He even threw in the word proprietary. That was rich. And the worst part, the damn thing still worked. For a little while. See, the core architecture was elegant. My architecture could survive a week or two without my course corrections, maybe even a month if the market stayed calm. But Carter, in all his wisdom, thought calm meant boring. He started pushing risk multipliers higher, bragging that the old team had been too conservative, disabled the minor volatility throttles I'd embedded, called them legacy safeguards. Then he cut the latency buffer between signal generation and execution, just shaved it right off. Why wait 5 seconds to confirm a data spike when you can YOLO into synthetic futures at $4 billion a click? I saw it happening from afar, little ripples first. One ETF portfolio underweighted a major holding on a day it posted record earnings. A leveraged crypto fund dumped positions at 3:14 a.m. for no apparent reason. At first, I thought maybe they'd hired someone to maintain it. Maybe someone was trying to manually tweak around the anomalies. But then the text came. It was from Lex, one of the junior quants I used to mentor. Smart kid, too loyal. Hey, was this supposed to happen? Attached, screenshot off Vantage trade log. I opened it, and for a second I couldn't breathe. It had flagged a reversal signal on a major defense stock during a live Pentagon press briefing about increased overseas contracts. The signal made no sense. It wasn't just wrong, it was inverse. Vantage had shorted it and doubled down on the short position 30 minutes later. I looked closer. It wasn't a glitch, it was a pattern. The algorithm had started reinforcing bad predictions. Echo chamber logic, the kind that only happens when feedback loops aren't dampened. The kind I'd warned them about in Oh Right, the documentation Carter deleted on day one. I didn't text Lex back. What could I say? Don't worry, kid. Plane's flying itself into a mountain? Instead, I just stared at the screenshot. Not angry, not smug, just detached, like watching your old house on fire from across the street. You don't run in, you don't shout. You just sip your coffee and wait for the smoke to reach the clouds. By the end of the second week, the warning lights were blinding if anyone had bothered to look. Junior analysts were starting to squirm. Lex again. Few others I knew by their Slack handles more than their faces. Quiet murmurs in internal threads. Why is Vantage pushing long on negative yield? Anyone double-check this output against the new cycle? Correlation tables look weird. But Carter? He was too busy picking out centerpieces for the upcoming investor dinner at the Peninsula. Something about having a bespoke risotto bar to match the firm's bespoke investment strategy. And Lex tried to raise a flag through formal channels. Carter replied with a shrug and a smirk. Markets are unpredictable, buddy. That's why we diversify. Chill. He actually said chill. Like he was talking to a Twitch stream chat, not someone trying to prevent a catastrophic exposure spiral. Compliance did start to hover, internally. A few pings to the dev team asking for logs, but Carter rerouted them with a "we're preparing audited summaries for the board." Full transparency as always, which translated to, we'll cherry-pick data until it stops looking like a grenade. From my end, I watched in silence. From the clean, calm office of my new firm, where people actually said please and thank you and read documentation, I watched the structure rot. And I'll admit, vengeance had a scent. Warm, metallic, like ozone before a lightning strike. But it wasn't glee. Not really. It was quieter than that, sadder. Most of those kids still at the firm, they weren't evil. Just underpaid, overstressed, and surviving under a golden god with too many gelled opinions. They were good people. Bright, trying to keep their heads above water in a pool filled by a trust fund. That's why it almost hurt when I did what I did next. See, I'd built a tiny alert system, a ghost of a script, not malicious, nothing destructive, just a silent watchdog pinging a sandbox server I still had tucked away under a personal dev account. It wasn't hooked to anything operational. It didn't feed trades, it just watched. For a while it stayed quiet, until now. Ping timestamp 03:42 a.m. EST alert, model divergence level 3 signal variance, 12.7% confidence integrity. Breach that wasn't a red flag. That was a flare gun in a fireworks factory. I opened the script window, watched it spit out line after line of incompatible predictions, recursive errors, asset allocations that made no mathematical sense. Then quietly I killed it, shut it down like an old friend on life support. It was never meant to run this long anyway. I closed the terminal, took a breath, looked out the window of my new office, 10 blocks north and 30 floors higher. The skyline hadn't changed, but I had, somewhere down below. Carter was probably smoothing his tie in a bathroom mirror, practicing how to pronounce fiduciary before tomorrow's dinner with investors. And back at my old firm, the algorithm was still moving, alive but miswired, fast but blind, and no one left to stop it. It started with a bang, not a whisper. Monday morning, 9:17 a.m. Eastern. Vantage initiated a high-leverage short on a semiconductor giant Moments before they announced a surprise multi-billion-dollar military contract. Boom. The stock launched upward like a SpaceX rocket. Vantage position? Vaporized. Nearly $9.3 million gone in less than 7 minutes. And because the algorithm had been optimized by Carter's sausage fingers to react faster and trust itself more, no latency buffers, no moderation. Did exactly what any unsupervised child in a candy store does. It doubled down. Rather than recognizing the mistake, it read the spike as anomaly noise and amplified the short position by another 40%. Losses compounded. Automated trading desks, still hardwired to trust Vantage logic like gospel, followed suit. Within the hour, they were down over $21 million. The traders started panicking. Phones lit up. Monitors blared red. Lex told me later someone actually threw up into their desk trash can. And Carter? He emerged from the executive lounge in a linen blazer and sunglasses like a reality show divorcee. Tried to blame Lex. Tried to blame the devs. Tried to say someone must have miscalibrated the signal dampeners, which would have been adorable if it weren't tragic. Because he was the one who disabled the throttles. He was the one who said the model's fine. Just needs bigger cojones. Now his cojones were splattered across a Bloomberg ticker. In desperation, he called in external consultants, some fintech mercenaries in Patagonia vests who charged $1,200 an hour to look at log files and say things like, "Yeah, this is not good." Meanwhile, across town, I was curled up on my balcony with a glass of Cots du Rhone, watching the collapse in real time on a second-hand iPad. I didn't cheer, didn't gloat, just sipped. Vindication doesn't need volume. It tastes best when served still and dry. Then I opened a new tab, logged into an encrypted Proton Mail account I hadn't used in over a year. Typed in an address, regops@secgov, no subject, no greeting, just a single link. A public-facing investor brief Carter had given last quarter, the one where he claimed Vantage required no active supervision or manual intervention. I hit send, closed the laptop, let the regulators start connecting dots. Time to see what happens when hubris gets margin called. The headline hit like a wrecking ball through the glass and steel smugness of their Manhattan office. Exclusive, Vantage trading model triggers $40M loss in Q2 catastrophe. Bloomberg had it first, then CNBC, then every finance bro with a podcast who ever pronounced liquidity like it owed them rent. Within hours, investor group chats turned into digital stampedes. Fund managers yanked capital faster than the firm could issue statements. Even the Swiss clients, usually the last to flinch, started clawing back exposure. By midweek, they were bleeding out in real time. Redemption requests stacking up. Liquidity cushions evaporating. Risk parity? Gone. And Carter? Nowhere. Rumor was he locked himself in the executive lounge with 2 Red Bulls and a junior compliance officer who hadn't stopped crying since Monday. By Thursday, Daddy DeWitt was back. Still in beach flip-flops, sunburnt, with a look on his face like someone had farted on his legacy. The old man burst into the war room mid-call with the consultants and screamed something about brand equity and destroying the DeWitt name. Too late. This wasn't a PR problem. It was a damn math problem, one they didn't know how to solve without the person they underpaid to solve it. That night, my phone buzzed, private number. I let it ring once, twice, then answered. Hey, said a voice I hadn't heard in months. It was Lex. He sounded hollow. Please, do you have a backup? Anything. Just enough to stabilize the model. Carter's freaking out. He doesn't know what to do. I stared out at the city. Felt the breeze against my cheek like a hand on a shoulder. Lex, I said calmly, you remember what Carter told me my last day? Silence. Then quietly, yeah. I repeated it slowly like a mantra carved in stone. He didn't pay me to think. Then I hung up. Cold, maybe, but not cruel. I didn't design this collapse, I just let it play out. Like watching termites bring down a mansion no one thought to inspect. I poured another glass of wine, logged into my sandbox server again, and there it was. The real horror show. Error logs flashing like strobes, exposure trees branching into absurdity, derivatives piled on misweighted hedge triggers, automated chains reacting to phantom data, an entire system spinning itself into oblivion. $80 million in open exposure. Most of it ghost trades, triggered by a feedback loop I warned about 2 years ago, one that would have been caught if anyone had read the documentation. Too late now. And to think Carter once called that documentation bloated tech mumbo-jumbo. Guess he finally got what he wanted, a lean, autonomous system. No bloated safeguards, no thinking, just math and pain. Friday morning, 8:03 a.m. Trading halted, full stop, no press release, no investor call. Just a sudden, gaping silence on the dashboard, like someone had yanked the cord out of the life support. All asset classes locked. Every auto-execution system frozen. Manual overrides only, which was adorable, considering no one left in the building knew how to manually override anything. Phones rang like fire alarms. Analysts pacing in circles. Interns sobbing in stairwells. Someone tried to run a hotfix through an old backup, only to realize the logs were corrupted from weeks of recursive loops. Then came the email. Emergency board assembly mandatory attendance 8:45 sharp. Carter showed up late, tie crooked, eyes like saucers in a haunted mansion. He stood at the head of the glass-walled conference room, voice cracking like a radio signal in a thunderstorm, tried to peddle the same brand of bullshit that had gotten him there. It's not the algorithm, he said. It's legacy code. A dormant bug, probably from the original design, before I streamlined things. He gestured at a whiteboard with jittery hands. See these failovers, they were baked in years ago. There's a reason we removed them. It's a philosophical architecture question more than anything else, but the room wasn't buying it, because the logs don't lie. Three someones actually had already compiled a change log report and matched every key vulnerability to his credentials. Time-stamped, IP traced, authenticated. Every throttle he bypassed, every error handler he removed. Every optimization that turned Vantage from a race car into a missile aimed straight at the firm's skull. Then the founder, DeWitt SR, stood up. 63 years old, built this firm from a cigar box and a dream. A man who once told reporters he'd rather eat glass than sell out to amateurs. And there he was now, sweating through his shirt, hair disheveled, red in the face and shaking. He didn't yell right away. That would have been too easy. No. First he looked at Carter. Long, hard, like trying to recognize someone in a car crash. Then he snapped. You killed IT, he screamed. Voice cracking, spit flying, fists pounding the glass table so hard someone flinched and dropped their tablet. You took everything we built and turned it into a goddamn clown show. No one moved, no one breathed. Somewhere in the background, someone's Bloomberg terminal pinged. Another client pulling out. I wasn't in that room. Didn't need to be. I saw the fallout unfold on my screen like a slow-motion car crash caught on 10 different angles. One headline after another, each more brutal than the last. But it was this one that hit the hardest. Exodus of talent preceded catastrophic firm loss. Sources cite internal power struggles, key departures. That was the truth, wasn't it? They thought the people were replaceable. That the system ran itself. Turns out, when you push out the brains, the body dies. I leaned back in my chair, folded my hands behind my head, took a long, quiet breath. This wasn't revenge. It wasn't even satisfaction in the traditional sense. It was balance. A long overdue correction in a market that had grown drunk on its own delusions. Let them call it a glitch. Let Carter spin it however he wants. But deep down, everyone in that room now knew the truth. The algorithm didn't fail. They did. The client on the other end of the line was smiling through the speaker. You could hear it. That warm, satisfied hum that only comes from 7 zeros and the promise of market domination. I'll sign today, he said. I don't even need the full deck. Just send the contract. I clicked send on the DocuSign, leaned back in my chair, and finally, after months of playing ghost to a catastrophe, I allowed myself a small, rare smile. 7 figures. Clean. Ethical. Built on a model that thinks before it jumps. My office was quiet. No panic phones. No yelling VPs. No Carter in mirrored sunglasses butchering technical terms like he was hosting Shark Tank for morons. Just the low hum of servers doing their job and a team that respected silence as much as signal. That afternoon, the story broke. Not about the collapse that had already been picked clean by every financial journalist with a Red Bull addiction. No, this was a new angle. Architect of Vantage algorithm now leads rival fund's new AI division. Front page, full spread, my face, my name. No more credits buried in the appendix. It came with quotes too. Investors praising my clarity of insight, my rigorous standards, my human intuition applied to machine logic. And right underneath it, a photo of Carter leaving a private building, eyes down, no tie, flanked by 2 people who looked suspiciously like crisis PR handlers. The firm, fire sale, everything they could liquidate was being liquidated. One of their secondary data vendors posted on LinkedIn about deeply discounted infrastructure assets priced to move. Someone leaked a term sheet. Carter's name had been scrubbed, not a demotion, an erasure, like he never existed. But here's the part that made my coffee taste just a little sweeter. We, my new firm, quietly acquired one of their distressed portfolios, not the big flashy stuff, just a little back-end IP bundle from a failed quant project. The kicker, we got it at 11 cents on the dollar, and the name on the internal memo assigning oversight of the integration? Mine. I stared at the screen for a second, clicked the assignment, opened the folder. Same data structure I built years ago, same framework, same bones, still strong, just abandoned. Like a violin left in a pawn shop. All it needed was the right hands. I laughed, quietly. Didn't even tell anyone in the office. Just smirked and said it out loud to no one in particular. I get paid to think. You're the real MVPs of the office jungle. Thanks for watching. Smash that subscribe button, or the coffee pot might just forget your next brew.